Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
Welcome into Judd's Hockey Show from the press box here at Grand Casino Arena, where the Wild won today. 3-2, very late goal from Jules Eriksson, but that's not what we are here to talk about. It's a nice win. Wallstedt, I thought, was great in goal, but AJ Fredrickson, we are here to talk about the reaction to the show that we did last night off the cuff. Quinn Hughes coming to the Wild. He did not play tonight. He will make his debut against the Boston Bruins here at Grand Casino Arena tomorrow. By now, unless you've been under a rock, you know that Z Bouillon has been traded, Liam Ogren, Marco Rossi, and a 2026 first-round pick. But Bill Guerin did a press conference. Post-game, they brought out a bunch of players who immediately were not asked about the win against the Senators, nor should they have been, asked about the trade. And then finally, Coach John Hynes was asked about the trade. What was your takeaway from the reactions, from the anticipation? By the way, get your number 43 sweater as fast as possible, no matter how much it costs. What was your reaction to sort of the tone with Quinn Hughes? I guess coming back on a private plane today with Bill Guerin, and will be playing a lot, especially on the power play because he's great there, starting tomorrow night.
Yeah, the comments that I think I'll remember more so were before the game from Bill Guerin. He seemed very confident with the move. It's hard to be upset with what you're sending when you're returning a guy of the caliber of player that is Quinn Hughes. Like Brock Faber said after the game, he's one of, if not the best defenseman in the league right now. I think maybe only second to Cale Makar, who's also in the division. Adding him to this roster immediately takes them to a new level, and it's going to be really fun to watch them, especially starting tomorrow when he slots into that lineup. Bill Guerin kept talking about how this kind of materialized and how this began, going back to this past Monday, where he said it was kind of brought to him like, hey, what if we just call Vancouver and see if it might be nuts right now, but it's not going to hurt to at least ask, get in the conversation. Well, a few days later, after and what he said was he made one initial offer. The offer that was accepted was the initial offer. There wasn't a whole lot of back and forth, but he threw his hat in the ring, and a few days later, he got the call back while making meatballs at home for their holiday dinner, and a big fist pump ensued after that phone was hung up. He talked about making it recognizing a moment. It's like, when do you wait? When do you finally decide to kind of push all in? Well, it's one of those things where sometimes you wait and you wait and you wait, and that moment might just end up passing you by, and all of a sudden, this moment that you feel like you were working up to for years and years, building prospects, building that farm system, having draft picks still at your arsenal, it passes you, and now you're just kind of waiting out on the porch, and it's like, well, what do I do with all this stuff? When a player like Quinn Hughes is available on the market, he felt like, hey, this isn't a chance to seize that moment. That opportunity is now, and he didn't hesitate. So I'll give credit to Bill Guerin there, because this is past calendar year. There's been some questionable trades that you could argue that he's made. David Jiricek is one, Gustav Nyquist another. But it kind of shows you he's not going to get gun shy because of that past stuff. He still stays true to, hey, we want to try to make this team better. Quinn Hughes absolutely does that, and he makes a big move. I don't think there is going to be a big fallout right away. Like, people might say, hey, this is going to hamper the Wild down the road. Well, we'll focus on down the road when we get down the road. And right now, I think starting tomorrow, you're going to see exactly why trading for Quinn Hughes does benefit this team. Now that I've had a night to sleep on it, kind of take in this information and hear thoughts from Bill Guerin, thoughts from the rest of the locker room, Coach John Hynes. I'm excited. Seeing this guy slot in, I'm more curious to see how quickly he gets acclimated to what the Wild do system-wise. He's a really good player, so I don't really have any doubts that it'll take a game or two at most. But tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun and a fun debut. I'm very confident after hearing Bill Guerin's comments, though.
So just to backtrack on how this all played out in the timeline, Pierre LeBrun, who is one of the prominent insiders in the National Hockey League, he reported that Hughes was actually tied to, by the end of the day, that there were offers from 6 teams made that included the Devils, of course, because Jack and Luke, his brothers, play there, and that's the team that was hoping to get him. And at the end of the day, the team that simply didn't have enough. Detroit was in, the Rangers were in, and then LeBron reported to some degree Carolina and Buffalo were in as well. And it sounds like from what Bill Guerin said in his press conference, this came together, as you said, in a 7-day period. Now, Quinn Hughes was actively being shopped, and it was a dance that the Canucks were doing because they wanted to trade him with maximum amount of time left, and there's still another season on his contract because you don't get this type of return for a pure rental. And so they wanted to trade him, but I don't think the offers were necessarily where they expected. What Bill Guerin had was the arsenal. Like once he said, this is what I can give you, the Canucks GM said, oh, okay. And I think he thought about it. And then I think he probably shopped that around as far as, to go back to, I would say, Detroit and New Jersey. And I don't think that they were either willing or had the capability. Now, the key thing here, too, is there's a couple of key things, but I think the key thing here, too, is Bill Guerin was an assistant GM with the Penguins when Jim Rutherford, who runs the Canucks, was there. The Canucks GM is a guy by the name of Patrick Alvin, who was also in Pittsburgh. So those three are tight, and those three have done business quite a bit. If I'm not mistaken, when Bill Guerin traded Jason Zucker to Pittsburgh originally, Rutherford was still in Pittsburgh at the time. So they've done business before. As Guerin explained, he basically was taught from Jim, hey, if you're going to make an offer, don't like beat around the bush, get real cute, then up it. He's like, just make the offer, which they did. There's a lot to talk about here still, but I mean, the obvious excitement, and I think it's justified. Now, we can talk about the future here, and are they going to sign him? The real date for Quinn Hughes to sign an extension here. So he can't sign the extension until July 1st. But the Wild will be able to operate under the previous CBA rules, which is huge, until September the 15th, 2026. What that means is this. Quinn Hughes can sign an 8-year contract. It can be the bonuses, the front loading of the contract, all of those things which are being tinkered with once the new CBA kicks in on September 15th or 16th of 26. All of those things can revert to where things were previously, i.e. the Kirill Kaprizov contract. So if you have him locked up by September 15th, if you can convince him, that's an absolutely key date. If you can't, and he's going to hit the market, just as an example, he cannot sign a contract for more than 6 years with his new team. Now, 6 years is a long time as well. Yeah. But I really think if you're keeping track of dates, the absolute key dates are, and because he's playing here, Quinn Hughes and Bill Guerin can talk, and his agent can talk. So, like, they can start talking contract, I don't know, in January if they want. Might not be the case. But the reality is, if you look at the key dates, it's July 1st, it's September 15th. But in the short term, I mean, there is no question, and Bill talked about this, there is no question that the Wild feel that they are in a position with Boldy, Kaprizov, now Quinn Hughes, Faber, goaltending with Wallstedt, which again today was just excellent, that they feel that they are in a position to make a substantial playoff run. And age, I mean, that's a big thing for a team that in the last 10 years has not been out of the first round when they've made it. And as we briefly touched on last night, but I think it's a very important factor here is, and we saw it again a little bit today, there's empty seats here. There's empty seats here. And my guess is starting tomorrow, and as far as the interest in buying tickets, that is going to change now because Quinn Hughes is a name that's going to attract fans. It's going to attract jersey sales. I don't think the importance, and it's not going to be talked about a ton, but the importance of Craig Leopold, again, taking a swing. The only question is, and in 2012, the Parise and Suter signings were absolutely huge. So the only question now is, can you get to the finish line with Quinn Hughes, which is not only an extension, but it's also a Stanley Cup Finals and potentially be hoisting the cup.
The other thing, too, with that September deadline for the 8-year extension potential is if you run out this year and things, you get a very good sense, and I don't know Quinn Hughes, but maybe him and his team are very open, like, hey, I really just have no plans to stay here. You could work out some sort of preseason negotiation where it's a sign and trade at that 8 years, and then that new team that he's being sent to acquires that 8-year deal. Like, and that's going to get you some more value back. Granted, that might be a very weird situation because I don't think the Wild would like to punt that early on the season, but it is a possibility. But the thing you mentioned of how they feel about this team right now, if you think a year back, 2 years back, it really felt like it was the Kirill Kaprizov team. It's him and then a supporting cast of some raucous, boy, they are charismatic, and you love them if you know them, and if you don't, oh well. But now you look at the poster board, it is Kirill, Quinn Hughes, Matt Boldy, who is playing like a star right now. Even on the blue line, Brock Faber, when he's on his game, he's looking real good. Jules Eriksson, I think he's been playing very good defensively. He's maybe not going to bring in fill the seats like a Kirill would, but then in goal, you have one of, if not the best goalie tandem in the league right now. Jesper Wallstedt is making a heck of a case to be the Calder front runner, and another good win and performance by him today as well. This is a team that now looks like is loaded, has some depth, and when people come back healthy, you add Matt Zuccarello back into the lineup. It's a leadership role going to fourth line, but Marcus Foligno, it would be a nice addition back. Jake Middleton, when he's back healthy, back on this blue line. Quick note as well. John Hines did say today that Jonas Brodin out tomorrow. They're not labeling it day to day. They're not labeling it week to week. It's somewhere kind of in the middle where he's going to have an update by Monday or Tuesday, but they're expecting no more than probably a week before he returns to the lineup. This team, I think you have an argument of they really do look and are building like a deep run, if not cup contender type of roster, at least on paper, because when healthy, there's depth. There's going to be some scoring. And I think that's probably where the next thing comes in, where I would like another piece. I don't think you need to make a blockbuster thing, but you need a little bit more of a supporting cast around that middle six. Even if it's a third line, gritty, has some scoring upside type of winger, I think that would be a nice piece. And with moving out Marco Rossi, I mean, that does create some thinness at the center position. Danila Yurov, it was brought up to Bill Guerin. He's like, yeah, we've been really impressed by him. They're loving his game, it seems like, so far. You know what you have with Eriksson Ek. Ryan Hartman had a goal today, but there is kind of the roller coaster of emotions there with him where you don't know who you're going to get necessarily. And then Nico Sturm is a good fourth line guy. I would love to maybe add somebody who could have some face-off potential, but can add a little scoring on the wing if necessary. So that's where I sit, but it looks like they're building something pretty special here right now based on the last couple of moves.
Bill Guerin in his press conference today did not sound like a guy who's done. I don't think he's done. I think there's one more move, and I think it's going to be secondary scoring, and I think at the very least it's going to be a third-line guy. Now, who's that going to be? Don't know. I'm seeing some interesting comments here. I always love these. Part of the fun of our show going live. So let's talk about this, okay? I'm just going to float this out there. You now have Kaprizov, you have Boldy, Faber, Quinn Hughes, good goaltending, a lot of things to like. And some of our comments very correctly are saying, you know who's sliding a little bit now? And it's not surprising? The Pittsburgh Penguins. The Pittsburgh Penguins are slipping a little bit. And they just traded Jari. Now, they still have goaltenders. But, they got off to a surprising start. And look, everybody, I think, thinks, Sidney Crosby would be great. But, yes, the Pittsburgh choke, who will they trade? I still don't think Bill Guerin is done pursuing, if he can, Sidney Crosby. I really don't. I think these guys are all in, and I know it sounds crazy, but listen, if I come, I laughed at the Quinn Hughes trade. Somebody sent me my quote from last week's show about how if you think Quinn Hughes is coming here, or I think I said he's going to be traded, but if you think it's here, you're crazy, which is, I said that. But what's funny is we sleep on these executives, and as a Score North podcast and video network, AJ, that promotes reckless speculation and the fact that anything could happen. Shame on me. But these comments, I don't know. Look, I don't know that Sidney would accept a trade. I have no idea. Like he might say no. But if Pittsburgh slides again and they're not going to make the playoffs as the deadline approaches, I would guess his list of teams that he would be willing to play for is very, very small. Might include the Avs. But I wonder. Let me just again recklessly speculate. Let me throw this out. Let me throw this out. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I mean, it's very clear because there's so many, there's USA Hockey and Canada, and everyone knows each other at the end of the day. Do you think that Edina resident, I believe, Marc-Andre Fleury, a.k.a. The Flower, just talking to his pal, one of his good friends, jokester buddy, Sid Crosby, said, hey, the Avs might pursue you. What would you think it would take for you to come here? And he's like, well, you guys, I guess if you got a Quinn Hughes, I might. I don't know. Just in trying to tie this whole thing together, yes, this move, if you can sign him, is a great move long term, but I think Bill Guerin also thinks short term, and I'm just throwing it out there. Sidney Crosby with Kirill Kaprizov and Zuccarello, or you take your pick of the right wing, there'd be way more incentive for him now to say, you know what? Bill Guerin's there, Flowers there, ton of talent there. I would love to go out with a real shot at a Stanley Cup. What do you think?
If you tell me there's a chance Sidney Crosby plays in the Minnesota Wild, I'm going to jump at the opportunity. I'm pulling up just let's think about how that would actually work out, though, because I think price tag wise, that is, Kyle Dubas he's not a dumb man. I know he's on previously with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, he can be goofy at times, but he's not
He can
dumb.
be goofy, but goofy can be dangerous too when it comes to being a buyer with him. If you look at how Pittsburgh's setting up right now, they have a first rounder this year, their own. They have 3 second-round picks. They have 2 third-round picks. They do not select in the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 4th, 5th round. They have a 6th and a 7th. I don't think that they would shy away from picking up something else from the Minnesota Wild, who currently sit with no first round, no second round pick this year. They have a 3rd, 4th, and a handful of late picks. Next year, 2027, the Wild still have their first round pick. They do not have a second round pick. They have their 3rd, their 4th, and later. I think you would probably have, for Sidney Crosby, if this hypothetically he does have a list that is 2 to 3 to 4 teams, and it does include the Minnesota Wild because of the connections, because now it looks like they're making a push, you're probably going to have to offer up I think it probably takes the 2027 first, and then you're going to have to throw in at least a prospect. It doesn't have to be a high tier, I think, because it's a first round. You could argue that, hey, after this year, we don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty regarding Quinn Hughes. There's a lot of uncertainty regarding some other stuff because we're pushing in now. So that pick might not be just like a 25th, 26th or later. It might be, if things go terribly wrong, late teens, early 20s, and that does kind of change the value there. But you're going to be able to say, hey, you could probably pry him off, because I don't know how many other teams are going to pony up much more, or like an astronomical amount more, to where Sidney Crosby, they kind of override.
And he would block trades.
Exactly. He's going to block.
But I think he's got a no trade, so he can just block that trade.
Absolutely.
But I think the Wild still has enough. I think why Bill Guerin was speaking from a sense of confidence about at least one more deal coming is, and we discussed this with Jesse Pierce on the show last night, they definitely still have enough prospects to be attractive. Like Judd Brackett, their scouting director's done a really good job. So they've still got enough prospects, and they might not be, certainly aren't household names here yet, but I'm just saying something else is coming. And look, Crosby's a pipe dream. We've discussed Alex Tuck, Tage Thompson. I don't think gets moved, but we've discussed him. But something else, like they're not done at forward. They didn't get. I know Quinn Hughes is going to help you generate offense, but they didn't get Quinn Hughes to just draw a line now and say, that's it. And again, I think when they look around the building, and this is more Leopold than Bill probably, but I think when they look around the building and see empty seats, what fixes that? A playoff run and excitement. Like a playoff run would fix everything. Like your season tickets would go right back up. Your single game, you actually, if you made a substantial playoff run, you wouldn't have a ton of single game inventory at that point. But I think we need to keep in mind that this team has had, when it's been 10 years since you've gotten past the first round, it might be the state of hockey, but there's going to be fatigue there. The Timberwolves are good now, and I know that the crossover of fan base is not huge, but it's enough where, like, especially corporations, right? Because that's big. Like, are you going to buy corporate tickets to the Wolves, the Vikings, the Wild? At some point in time, corporations have to tap out. So I'm almost positive there's going to be another trade there. But let me ask you this question, too. and we talked about this during the course of the game because there were some points tonight where the power play, and they were down a bunch of guys, but it didn't look great. Quinn Hughes running the first power play now. So you've got Eriksson in the middle. You've got Boldy on the power play, Kaprizov, eventually Zuccarello. In your opinion, what does the Wild power play look like perhaps starting tomorrow, but more just long-term as they get used to each other?
And this is similar to kind of what we were talking about previously with Zeke Bouillon, but he does know how to navigate the top of the zone well. This is probably going to be because Quinn Hughes left-handed shot. I think you would probably put Matt Boldy on that right point to start, but then allow him to kind of your bumper should be Eriksson out front. He is your in front nitty-gritty guy. I think you would probably on a face-off, your left D would be Quinn Hughes, your right D setting up pretty much only for initial face-off would be Matt Boldy. Right wing I would like to have Kirill Kaprizov there. And then let's see who am I missing here?
Zuccarello eventually.
So
once he's back,
let me change that here. You're gonna put Quinn on the left, probably Zuccarello on the right, Boldy on the right wing, Kaprizov on the left wing with Eriksson out front. And that's going to allow Quinn to pretty much be this pivot point going from the left to right, shifting back and forth. And that's where he's going to stay and be able to cut low if needed. But that allows then Matt Boldy and Kirill Kaprizov to shift to kind of like that wheelhouse of we can get a shot off. Kirill Kaprizov on the left side. We know how much he likes to get down low and work from behind the net. So you're going to have him on his strong hand to do so already. And then it should just be about moving the puck. Frankly, take a book out of what the Senators doing today on that 5-on-3. It's a lot of space out there with only 8 guys. I understand that, but they were zipping the puck around purposefully, quickly, making Wallstead, and Wallstead had a fantastic game today, but he was having to make saves that most goalies probably would have allowed a goal or two on that spurt. And it took a diving Tim Stützle effort to finally beat him, but they were zipping it around back and forth. And now I think with Quinn Hughes, this is exactly what you do, looking to get to that far side where Matt Boldy, who's been so hot finding the back of the net all year, that you work it around to him. If it's stopped, you know what? Eriksson is there, and then you have the backside push of Kirill Kaprizov crashing the net, looking for that bounce that trickles maybe through. Or you just try to fire it short side, and that's where Matt Boldy comes into play with how good he is shooting, beats the goaltender. And if he misses totally wide, you have a great puck handler in Kirill Kaprizov to corral it. So it's more about drawing them kind of near side where Kirill is on the left of the zone, and then quickly shifting work around to the right around the perimeter to allow Matt Boldy to get a scoring chance.
And Hughes is so talented too that I think he is going to, and this is what the greats do, he's going to make it look simple, and it's going to be seamless and smooth, which if you see a guy play the power play who's not truly the point guard of the power play, it looks very difficult. But yeah, I think he's going to get pucks through, which is difficult, but it can be done. And I think that the ability to set up plays, I think Hughes and Kaprizov on the power play are going to make Zuccarello and Kaprizov look like child's play. I think that's cute. Like it's really cute, and they've had some great plays, but I think that's what Hughes brings. I think he brings a dynamic where it's going to be like, this is a real point guard. And on the power play, I think it's going to be deadly, or it should be at least. And now, Brock can drop to power play 2, or Spurgeon can. I personally would probably put Brock there, but the point is now your top power play becomes, as far as the personnel goes, and it's not what the Oilers can do with their top, because those 2 players are so good, but I mean, it's closer, and
in terms of pure skill, it's a top tier one in the league.
Yes.
I think.
Yes, I agree with that.
I got a question for you here, but first, really quick, for the over 600 people hanging out with us here on a Saturday, early evening now, make sure to click that like button, subscribe for Score North, follow Judd's Hockey Show, leave 5-star ratings and reviews on your podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whether it's here on YouTube. Appreciate you hanging out with us here after a Wild win, crazy couple of days here in a row with the Wild acquiring Quinn Hughes. But this question comes from Still Praying 78. It says, Western Conference Finals has got to be the minimum goal for this season, right? And I think over the last 24 hours, Judd, the debate on getting out of the first round, that's a success. I would argue now there is a very strong argument that just getting out of the first round with what you've done here over the past couple of days is not enough. Like, that is not satisfying. You have to get to what Still Praying says here, which is Western Conference Finals might be what the floor expectation is.
I mean, I think it's fair. I think it's fair. Like you are gambling that he will stay here. And I read a bunch of stuff from various sources on the trade today, and I've seen, well, the Wild's gonna get 2 kicks at the can, right? You're not gonna get 2 kicks at the can. If Quinn Hughes says, I'm not staying here, you're trading him. I think Bill Guerin would be fired very quickly if it's like, well, we took 2 shots and now Quinn Hughes is with the New Jersey Devils. We'll see about, and so I think it's one real shot. And then look, a trade, if you wait until the deadline and he's a pure rental, you're not going to get back what you gave up, but you're going to get back a good trade. So I don't think it's 2 shots though. I think it's 1, and I don't disagree with this. And I mean, that's keeping in mind that this conference is a wagon. I mean, right now, if the season were to come to an end, they're playing the Dallas Stars. And it's a lot closer with Quinn Hughes. But, I mean, Dallas is considered one of the best teams in the league. And I know that you beat them on Thursday, but that's the regular season, okay? But if this is just trying to imply that the heat is on, that there is tremendous pressure, that's absolutely correct. And with the trade that they made, there should be. Like, Bill Guerin did this for a reason, right? Yep. So it's not like, well, what were you doing? I mean, Bill Guerin has applied tremendous pressure, but it's also a vote of confidence pressure. Like, it's like, I believe in you guys, so I'm going to plop into your locker room one of the best defensemen playing in the league today, a guy that a couple of years ago had a phenomenal season and won the Norris Trophy. So, yeah, if they get bounced in the first round, it's a disaster. Yep. If they don't get to at least the conference finals, it's disappointing. Like, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat and be like, well, they tried hard. It's going to be difficult, but a trade like this is all about winning a championship. It's not about a feel good. You just got somebody who's good. It's you got a top player. Your roster is considered to be filled with some very, very high end talent. Go win it.
And that's the thing about this trade too. Something that you have said, just kind of like, off the cuff for us in past years. People get to like late April or maybe even May, and it's like, wow, the NHL playoffs are still going on. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be fun. This is a move that is aimed to do that. This is not supposed to be fun. Seeing some guys that you maybe really like. I still think Zeev Buim is going to be a fantastic player in this league. I think he's got a very, very bright future, probably a couple-time All-Star. He's going to be a dynamo in Vancouver, and I hope he succeeds. I like Marco Rossi. Genuinely a very nice guy. I don't have a bad word to say about him. Liam Ogren, I think he probably deserved more opportunities here. Hopefully he gets that in Vancouver. It's tough to see those guys go, and it might stink, like in one sense, but you have to make some moves here. You look at what Vegas has done in their short time in this league. They've been cutthroat. Like, they've been cutthroat, and it's paid off. They've made moves that some people may not like, and they've done some things that look at how they parted ways with Marc-Andre Fleury, for instance, before he left there. He didn't really get like a sit down, hey, we're gonna do whatever. It was more of he got a text or a call and was like, hey, we're moving on from you. Sorry about it. But they have a Stanley Cup. The Wild do not. And this is the type of moves that I think you have to make. And it emotionally for fans, it does take a toll too. So seeing your GM, I think, believe in your team, having a clear superstar, and it's not like the Wild don't have star power to begin with. Like, they've got Kirill, Matt Boley's been playing good. Look at the goaltending so far. They've been playing really good hockey, and it's not too long ago that we saw them, I think, earn pretty solid wins against the best team in hockey, Colorado Avalanche, and most recently outwork and win against the Dallas Stars. So now you're adding an even better top 10 player, maybe probably second best defenseman in the league, Quinn Hughes, to this lineup. Having him give that vote of confidence, really back and say, you know what? Yeah, this is it. this is the push that we need to see, and this is the player that we're going to try, like, catapult us into this contender conversation. I think it goes a long way, because it does, to me, say if he believes, then you know what, for right now, I've got his back. I whatever he's going to do here moving forward, even if I don't agree, like in the summer, the Tarasenko trade, we were both very skeptical, and I think right now that's coming true. Like I still don't like it. The acquisition was weird. This, though, it's different because it's such a different type of player. It's such a quality player versus more of a, hey, well, let's hope we missed out on a free agent, blah, blah, blah. This is a premier player in the NHL that you are going to rarely be able to pick up, whether it's free agency or via trade. And he was able to make that happen. So moving forward, I think this does give me a vote of confidence in this team and a vote of confidence in Bill Guerin to have a longer leash, especially come around this time trade deadline year, where I can forget about Gus Nyquist last year. I can forget about some of the previous moves, even David Yurchek for right now, because he's saying this is it. This is the one that has to work.
Well, and this is Bill Guerin. He didn't make trades for, what was it, 3 years, 4 years, because of the Parise and Suter contracts. He wanted to. Like, it pained him. In fact, if anything, there were probably some trades he didn't make that saved him. But you have space now. Bill Guerin said in July, when I believe the Wild signed Sturm and to your point, made the Tarasenko trade, he said in July that, hey, this gives us the opportunity, though, to make moves when in season. And I think at the time, we all thought trade deadline, and we sure didn't think Quinn Hughes. But this is what he was talking about. He is, I think the thing that you appreciate is he is not trying to save his job. Because if this does not work, he will pay a price.
Yeah,
what he's trying to do is win, and it's almost like a player, like the competitive nature of a player, because he's not playing it safe. And if Quinn Hughes does not stay here, he will be judged on that as well. But you know what's funny about this entire thing is what Bill Guerin did is what's going to happen more and more now, because with the salary cap going up exponentially, which, by the way, when it comes to the negotiation with Quinn Hughes will help. It'll help the Wild. But with the salary cap going up and up, free agency, as we knew it, of this free-for-all, is gone. And we saw that in July. Mm-hmm. Look at the amount of guys that just went back to their teams. I mean, Brock Besser, of all people, went back to the Canucks. Like, he likes it there. I don't know why, but I mean, there was a time when I can almost guarantee you Brock Besser, 10 years ago would have been with this team right now. But the reality is everybody, if they want, can keep their players. And I think players, to a large degree, like comfort. So the amount of guys who are going to bolt, I think, especially star players, is going to go way down. And so what we saw here, I think, is the start of, especially for guys, and Quinn Hughes' contract, interestingly, did not have any and has no trade protection. But what we saw, AJ, was the start of, I think, how you're going to see major players move. Because I don't know that they're going to move frequently from now on in free agency, but I think you're going to see teams do what the Wild did, which is, okay, let's see who's not going to stay. In this case, the Canucks aren't good, but Quinn Hughes also, after his contract's up following next season, was going to leave. So they essentially said, okay, we're not going to allow you to get 2 years out here. We're going to trade you right now. And I think this is the start of the domino of big-time player movement. More and more is going to come in season instead of when free agency starts.
Yeah, and that's going to have to be what it is, because you know how devastating it was for the Wild to just have Marian Gaborik walk. You can't have a superstar player who defines your franchise leave for nothing and have another team reap the rewards of that. One, that's an indictment on the general manager to not have a plan, get some value back. You can't let your franchise, the guy that people show up to see, pay money to see every single night, just leave for nothing. And so that's what Vancouver did here with Quinn Hughes. That's what we were talking about as a hypothetical, potentially with Kirill Kaprizov before we sign that extension, where the Wild are going to have some tough conversations if things went south there. The Wild and Bill Guerin said, hey, you know what? We're going to try to reap the benefit of what you have to move on from. And I think for at least for the short term, it makes this team a lot better. That it's as simple as that. You could talk about, how Zeev and Marco and Liam Ogren and the first round pick that they're going to select, how that might swing a decade from now. Because we might look back on this as maybe it's a terrible trade. We don't know. But right now, as we sit here, I think I think the benefit of the doubt for what Bill Guerin is doing, he's aligning with the trend, like the league is saying. I mean, look at Rantanen last year. Colorado knew they had to do something or move on, and guess what? They moved on. And then Carolina, they did the same thing. They realized, oh, I don't know about this one. They moved on, and now Dallas is benefiting from that. Colorado got a pretty good player, and so did Carolina. So it's not like this acquisition and knowing like maybe the timer's ticking down. You don't know how much time you get with Quinn Hughes, and it's not like he's going to just vanish one day. Poof, he's gone, thin air, all that trade value. Who knows? I imagine Bill Guerin, when it comes down to that turnpike, whether going left or right, to one way, we're going to let him walk, and one way, we got to move on and get some value back. I bet you he goes for the way that gets a little value back for the Wild. How much? That'll be a conversation for another day.
Yeah, and this is also, one of the elite players in the entire league. Like, it's not like he traded for a guy who's like a third line guy and he gave up way too much. Like, the only name that I keep coming back to, and I'm sure the majority of fans do, is Bouillon. I mean, that kid could be great, but you got to throw him. He's got to be involved. But I mean, this is such a unique conversation. Like, we're talking about one of the elite players in the entire league. We're talking about a guy who the second, he sets foot in your locker room on Sunday afternoon, makes your team way better. And so it's hard to push back against that. I will warn you, though, and I brought this up, I think, last night, but I think it's worth talking about again. The Craig Leopold owned Wild, if it's possible, have never been afraid to take shots. The Suter and Parise signings were an enormous risk. Didn't really work out. 13 years at the time. You can't even do that now. Matching $98 million contracts. And to go back to the day that broke on a July 4th, if you recall the excitement that surrounded that day and those moves, their press conference was held in the summer out in the atrium, like in the atrium of the arena here. And it was packed with staffers and fans and media. And that was a shot. Now, it didn't work, and in retrospect, the contracts look terrible. But that's all hindsight. Like they are, it's a difficult thing because we are prone to, when things don't work out, complain about them. Mm-hmm. But we are also very excited. And I guess the question is, would you rather have a franchise that does not take any shots? For instance, for the most part, aside from like Carlos Correa, the Twins, right? They just don't take shots. Yeah. Or would you prefer a franchise that takes shots, and in retrospect, it might not work? I mean, if Quinn Hughes walks, it didn't work. But that being said, I feel like we're having a slippery slope conversation, because if the flip side was, we are never doing a Quinn Hughes trade, we hope Zeev and Ogren develop and that, Marco comes back and plays well. So I think it's a very interesting conversation, because a year and a half or 2 years from now, we might say, well, that blew up and the dude didn't stay and they lost in the first round of 2026. But right now, the Wild, for the second time in franchise history, is taking an enormous shot, which I do think in the short term for sure generates a ton of excitement that I don't think most teams feels like are willing to do on any sort of regular basis.
Well, that's why this is fun, right? Like, I don't want to sit down and dedicate 2.5 hours of watching a movie if I know, okay, it starts off, this person, they're working a job, and then they kind of just work that job, and then they go home, they have dinner with their family, and they go to work the next day and they work their job, and it's like, oh, maybe something comes down the road, but we don't always know. That promotion might happen. Maybe, I don't know. I'd rather see the guy that works a job, tries to maybe leave, start his own business, and then there's ups and downs and all this stuff. And that's what it seems like the Wild do under Craig Leopold. I'll give him credit for that, because I think I've criticized him in the past where owners, and this is my gripe about owners, where a lot of them, I feel like, especially in baseball, since you brought up the Twins, look at it as more business rather than I want my team to win and be successful. They think, okay, winning means I make more money. Craig Leopold, I genuinely think, one, he does want to make money, but also I think he genuinely wants the team to win. I think he wants to have a banner hang up here, and whether that the reasoning for that might be because it fills seats and you get the extra revenue for deep playoff runs and all that stuff. I think there's a fan portion in his heart somewhere that says, I just want to win because I like the team. I love the team. And that, frankly, that the fact that he's willing to say, you know what, if you believe this is what's going to take, whether it's Martin Hansel, whether it's 13-year contracts to Parise and Suter, whether it's buying out those contracts to Parise and Suter, whether it's going out and getting Quinn Hughes, I endorse him for that. And that's where it's like, it's the up and down. This might end in heartbreak. A lot of sports does. But as of right now, like, it's fun to hop on the ride and think right now the hope that I'm getting of Quinn Hughes is going to step in here. I mean, we saw it right after the game, Judd. We go down there. Brock Faber was the first person waiting to talk to the media. Dare I say he was giddy at the first question. Hey, what's it going to be like playing with Quinn Hughes? He didn't know whether it's going to be more fun to play on the ice with him or sit on the bench and watch him play for the Wild. That's how awesome this guy is. And now you're adding that to this roster. You're adding you're adding that to the team. And I think getting a guy like that in this locker room is going to elevate it morale-wise. I mean, in the past, Pat Maroon was brought in to be that guy. Ryan Reeves was brought in to be that guy.
Had no money.
There's characters there. Don't get me wrong. But I think at the end of the day, what raises morale more than adding a bona fide stud to your roster? And Quinn Hughes does that. So give me the movie that's got ups and downs. And maybe I don't like the ending. Maybe I do like the ending. But at least I had fun and it's entertaining for the time I'm watching it.
Back to your point. Faber and who I expect to be paired. John Hines, of course, didn't say, oh, yeah. He said, we'll wait and see on that. We're going to see. I mean, it might be the options are Spurgeon or Brock, right? But let's just talk about Faber and Hughes. To me, that could be so much fun, just as a hockey fan, to watch that on a regular basis. I mean, Brock is not Quinn, but Brock is a good player. He's definitely would be the defensive guy there. I mean, Quinn's going to create plays. And so, but I just think that, between those two, I think Quinn is considered a better skater than Faber, but Faber can really, really skate. I'm just saying, as a sports fan and as a guy that loves this sport in particular, I think that could be a ton of fun and one of the top pairings in the entire league at some point.
That pairing to me, like I said last night on our reaction show, the ideas, and even just once again now, Buium gone. That was going to be my decade-long Buium Faber. Having Quinn Hughes now being able to be paired with Brock Faber on that blue line, it gives me goosebumps. You got one guy. I mean, the thing is, they're both solid defensively. Like, it's not just Brock. Quinn does know how to play in his own zone, and he's very capable of doing so. But they both have that offensive talent too. And maybe it's a nice little tipping of scales where one guy kind of excels a little bit more defensively, one guy excels a little bit more offensively. Yep. But they're going to play off so well. They know how to move the puck. They can drive play out of their own zone. I mean, Quinn Hughes on his own is a one-man breakout. But I think having Brock Faber there also, like the zone entry, especially in the power play, I'm so excited to see that.
Which has been terrible.
Terrible. Getting out of their own zone through neutral ice and into the opposition end is going to be, I mean, if you blink, I bet you're going to miss it.
Stretch passes, stretch passes.
Sarah McClellan actually had a funny quote to Kirill during his availability, which was, "Are you going to be like a lot of stretch passes? You're going to have to be ready for them." And she's right. She's right. Quinn Hughes is going to be looking up ice, and there's going to be outlet passes out the wazoo. Make sure you bring your plugs and adapters, your power strips, outlets for days, right?
Yes, which has been awful. I mean, Zeev showed a lot of potential. His zone entries on the power play were not great. Faber, not great. Spurgeon, not great. This is going to go from, like, if your breakout, if we were to grade the zone entries, if we were to grade them on the power play, I would put them at a grade right now of what we've seen at like a 3 or a 4 tops. It's going to go to a 9, if not a 10, but it's going to be a 9. I mean, it's going to be, and this guy, I mean, when you watch him, he's going to be one of the smoothest players. In his prime, now he was not an offensive force, but let me just say this. In his prime, and that's now gone, he's hurt again, Jonas Brodin was incredibly silky smooth. Incredibly. But Quinn Hughes is a smoother player, smoother skater, and Brodin is a great skater. And I think he also is a smoother player through all 3 zones. So, like, I think this is going to be – I think Quinn Hughes could be the silkiest, smoothest defenseman that not just the Wild have had, but the North Stars as well. Like, if you trace the National Hockey League in this state, I think Quinn Hughes now goes up to the top of the list of probably the smoothest defenseman that the fans will have ever seen.
I want to – yeah. I mean, yes, he is so talented. He he skates just so smooth. You're going to be watching like a choreographed dance essentially when he's on the ice. It's just silky smooth the way he moves the puck. Similar to how we've almost talked about with Wallstedt in goal, where he kind of does these things where it looks so simple, but in reality, when you break it down, he's calculating how strong he has to push across, along with how he lifts his shoulder and then pivot his torso and all this stuff. Quinn Hughes does that, and similar. Frankly, it's probably a better comparison with what Kirill Kaprizov does with his edges and his edge work, skating through the neutral zone. He's just so good. This comment kind of caught my eye here, and I'm curious about your thoughts here, because I've seen a couple people actually agree with this, but Pat Bryant here, not to, I guess, I might pick on you, Pat. I might pick on you. I'll be honest. He says, I'd rather be good/great for a long time than have one cup. I fully disagree. I don't know about you, but if I pull some fandom, I full transparency, I'm a Cubs fan, like for baseball. And I watched as a kid, WGN, I watched the Cubs stink year after year after year after year after year after. You get where I'm going with that. And kind of it picked up around the time I was in high school. You know, I was like, oh, Starlin Castro, this is going to be our guy, all this other stuff. Well, then things start to come together. They kind of get competitive, and all of a sudden they make that run, World Series. And if you would have told me, hey, now, especially after winning it on that night, your team is going to go back to being awful, god-awful, terrible for the next 108 years, do it again, I would have said absolutely. Because the euphoria, the pure bliss, the happiness that I rode on, I was floating on that November 3rd evening, late into the night, sharing that moment. And that's the thing about sports, that I love. The memories and the moments that you get to be a part of in the community. My grandpa, who is now passed, introduced me to the Cubs, and I was able to watch that game with him. And when that final out was recorded, we both got up, shared an embrace, and it was one of the happiest moments of my life, being able to experience that with him. If you told me that, a couple runs to the NLCS, 5 years in a row, you're going all that way, but you don't ever actually get over the hump, I wouldn't trade that moment for 50 in a row championship series. I don't want that. I want one cup. And if they get more, that's great. But let's start with one. I need at least one for the Minnesota Wild, because that moment is going to make me the happiest person on this earth. Like it's going to be like no other feeling in the world. I don't know if you agree with that or agree with Pat here.
I agree completely. Well, first of all, there's a difference between good/great. Like the Wild's been good a lot. They have not been great. Like the last 10 years, like the amount, this franchise, I would say this, in their 25 years or 24 years, they have never been great. I mean, they made the Western Conference Finals in their third season, playing in a league where hooking and grabbing and oversized goaltender equipment was a key thing. So I would argue they've never been great. Parisi and Suter were supposed to bring that from them. They never, with Zach and Ryan, they made it past the first round occasionally. That was it. So, like, great. We can't even talk about great. And by the way, great is probably a championship. Good, yeah. I mean, they can be good, but I'm with you. Give me a championship. Now, this is not the Twins though, where they did win 2 World Series in my lifetime, and now we're just a colossal disaster. I don't want that, preferably. But I mean, this is all about championships. Like that's all you want is a championship. So, and this move puts you closer. It puts you closer, and again, it also I do like the fact that this is a move, because Bill Guerin at times has tinkered with stuff. We talked about that, and it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like Gustav Nyquist, what are you doing here? And I know you didn't have cash to spend, but I mean, still, like that just, it feels like you're just basically taking the cash that you're going to spend on Gus and sticking it in a toilet and flushing it. But like this move to me, like, again, it's exciting. Like, we've done 2 days of shows here, and people are watching, like, way more. There's a reason why people are craving content, because this is fun. So, yeah, I don't think it's worth fearing what's going to happen. Now, in a couple of years, if it doesn't work out, then we will judge it. But so will Craig. He'll judge Bill at that point. But as of right now, from most of the things that I read, league reaction today, and anonymous quotes from executives around the league, AJ, off the record, but they were quoted just without their names. the consensus seems to be Vancouver did really well for what they were up against. But this is a great trade for the Wild. And I think that's very, very fair. Like the Canucks Bill Guerin offered a package that was great. But the executives also said it, and they're right. The Western Conference is tough. The Wild, since the beginning of November, has played pretty damn well. They needed more, and they just got it. So, like,
Judd, you will still hear me? Because you froze on my screen.
Oh, now can you hear me?
Yes, there you go. It looks like you rejoined.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. But my point was, both teams got a good trade here. The Canucks did really well for what they were up against, which was a bad predicament, and the Wild benefit by swooping in at the 11th hour and in coming in and getting a superstar player. They now have 2 superstars, and Boldy, I think, is a borderline one. That's some pretty good top shelf players. So, yes, win a championship. I'm all for it. Win a championship. Don't be afraid, especially when you can get a great player. I mean, again, it's like if the Vikings, let's just say hypothetically, were to obtain Joe Burrow. Are you going to say, well, J.J. McCarthy, you can't do that. I don't want a top 5 QB. What are you talking about? What are you doing? Well, you're trying to win. Trying to win is at the end of the day the most important thing. And Bill Guerin, no question about it, wants to win, and he does. And this is not a move to win a Stanley Cup title in 2028. This is a move to win a Stanley Cup title this coming spring, 2026.
And the thing that I think we're thinking about this wrong is I think people are so quick to jump when a trade is announced. Who's the winner? Who's the loser? Who got fleeced? Yeah. It's very possible that this works out incredibly well for both teams.
Yes.
If you look at the past major deals that the Wild have done, going back to the trade that they moved Fiala on, I think right away we got a very good sense of, okay, well, we're going to have to wait and see, blah, blah, blah. But also, we know what Fiala is. He's very streaky, but also when he's on his game, boy, is he fantastic.
And the Wild lost, in everyone's opinion, especially the national pundits. The Wild was the clear loser of that trade. Clear.
Yeah. Well, guess what? We now see the Wild have a pretty darn good defenseman, Brock Faber, from that trade. And frankly, I want to say one of the picks that they acquired back from LA, Liam Ogren, actually now was sent to Vancouver. So in a way, correct, Kevin Fiala partly paid for Quinn Hughes today, if you want to look at it that way. But it's very possible that this goes out where the Wild, they make their run and all of a sudden they get over the hump and they win their cup. But on the other side of things, Vancouver have a young centerman in Marco Rossi who, you know what, now that he has a team that maybe believes that he can be a number 1 center consistently and he's put on a line with, Brock Besser or something along those lines, he blossoms and becomes this brand new player that he never became here. Zia Bouillon was showing a lot of great stuff here, and he's a rookie. So he might continue to do so, and he takes a massive step in a year from now, and then another step 2 years from now, and then 3 years. He's looking like a top 10 defenseman in the league, and that's fantastic.
Right.
But the Wild are sitting here 2 or 3 years from now on the other side of this hypothetical with their Stanley Cup, and maybe they have now since either signed or flipped.
Then they won.
Hughes. I think at that point, the Wild still win that trade with that. But it's possible for both teams to come away and say, you know what, that benefited both of us, and we both won that day.
This was a very fair trade.
I agree.
It was a very fair trade, and so here's the one thing I will add on. If the Wild, and this is going to be tough, but if the Wild were to win a Stanley Cup this June, then Quinn Hughes can take a trip to Mars and play there. Like if if this gets you a championship, which I think if it did, he stays because, then his memories of Minnesota are very fond.
Yeah.
But if Quinn Hughes wins you a championship, that's all you're asking for. Mm-hmm. So at that point, you want him to stay, but if he's like, hey, guys, I delivered. Now I'm going to go play for the Devils. You trade him during next season while basking in the delight of a Stanley Cup. Yep. So, yeah, there's different ways to rationalize this. There's different ways to see it. There's different ways to break this down. But, I mean, I do not think that Guerin was BSing when he basically said, I worked for Rutherford in Pittsburgh. He's now in charge of the Canucks. He told me always just make it a fair trade. It was a fair trade. The Canucks get, they get 3 players, one of whom I think is going to be great. The Wild gets a guy who puts them potentially over the top right now. So, yeah. And I said this before, but I mean, on the day that they signed Parisi and Suter, if you polled the fans. It's not like they said, oh, boy, I don't know about these contracts. I'm not sure about this. In retrospect, it was easy to say that. But this franchise going for it, also, they might drive you crazy at times, but this mentality is the mentality that we have seen far too many teams in this town, not as much now, but back in the day, they didn't have it. They didn't go for it. And that's what they've done. And, if it ends up with a championship, it will be worth it tenfold. It'll be worth it tenfold, and you won't have an empty seat in this building for probably 4 years.
Absolutely. Right now, we're sitting with over 800 people joining us here on this Saturday evening here after a wild win 24 hours into the Quinn Hughes experience with Minnesota. Bill Guerin flew out and got him on the PJ earlier today after speaking to media. But of the little over 800, we've got a couple people wondering, with the debut tomorrow on Sunday, Judd, will you be going to the game?
Okay, the answer is no, but here's what we are going to do. So the start time is 5 o'clock Central, if you're not in the Central time zone. The start time is 5 o'clock. So it's about as bad a start time as possible. They've completely screwed up because clearly the Vikings play the Cowboys at 7:20 in Dallas. So here's the plan. AJ will be here. He's coming to the game. He was not going to, but with the debut of Quinn Hughes, it's easily worth it. And plus, the last two shows that we have done have shown that the interest is off the charts, which it should be. I will be at home watching the Wild and then the Vikings and then do an event line. The only question on-air production meeting with you, AJ, the only question is, do we try to podcast? Do we try to do the show, podcast, and YouTube? Do we try to do it right after the game at the start of the Vikings game, or do we wait until Monday and do it then? Because I'm excited to hear what the building is like, what Quinn Hughes has to say, and all of that good stuff. That's up to you because you're far more aware of the shifting patterns of the viewer, how to get the most from a show. I'm just a guy that talks about sports. So, but yes, AJ will be here on behalf of Judd's Hockey Show. I'm going to watch the game, but there is no way that I can get home in time to watch the Vikings game, which is still the A job a lot of times because with Ventline, who knows? It could turn into a circus. JJ McCarthy could be great. Fans will go nuts. JJ McCarthy could be terrible. Fans will go nuts. So that's the plan. That's the game plan for tomorrow with the Wild playing the Boston Bruins.
What I will say, just to kind of give away where I was leaning on, I think, once again, on-air production meeting, I think because the Vikings are going to be playing at the same time that this game would be about wrapping up and whatnot.
That's the problem. Yep.
It makes the most sense because of that attention to probably just do a show Monday morning and get it up first thing then.
Okay.
So to the people that I saw saying, please do a show tomorrow, unless things change, I think I might disappoint you. I think we might disappoint you. Apologies for that. But we will get one up.
And I can do two things at once. You know, I can have
you can. And you're a talented
man. I can have the
man.
Vikings game on my cell phone, watching it, and because it's going to be the start of the game, I could watch it and get your thoughts as well. So you just tell me, though.
But we will tell you what, we'll maybe make it a game time decision. It won't be. I'm not going to call Jonas Brodin right now and say, we're out for tomorrow. We'll get back to you maybe on.
Are
Monday
you day to day, week to week, year to year?
I'm not going to label it day to day, Judd. I'm not going to label it.
What's your status? I don't even know what's wrong, but what's your status?
GA once again saying, and this is where maybe we call an audible. If Quinn goes crazy tomorrow and just the building is about to tear down,
hat trick, screw 3 points. Let's go hat trick tomorrow. I believe if I'm not mistaken, the only hat trick in this building by a Wild defenseman was the aforementioned Ryan Suter against the Capitals.
And I was there for that game.
Okay,
I remember
Spurgeon had a hattie in Edmonton.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, because he's from there, and I think he scored 3 goals. But yeah, Suter had one here. Was that around 2014 or 15 against?
It had to have been. Yeah, that was funny though because that game I remember specifically. They had single-digit shots going into the final 10 minutes of the game.
Okay.
And Suter took a penalty, came out of the box, and he got the outlet pass, like stepping out of the box, going into the zone and buried it. And it was a really stupid game, but like you said, for a historic night of only defensemen ever score a hat trick in this building, it made a lot of sense.
All right. I believe we're done.
Yeah.
unless there's more comments to get to, or you've got some final thoughts, excuse me, I believe that we are done. But certainly an exciting time to be a Wild fan, and it was a weird vibe in the building today because it was sort of, it was an early start. The Wild, because of the trade and injuries, their lineup was not exactly normal. They didn't play a great game. They didn't play a terrible game. They won, but the building didn't really. The building came alive when the game got scrappy and the fans felt like the refs had screwed the Wild one too many times. So that did happen, but it was a very odd feeling, and I think the players agreed too, because like you make this huge trade, that's all the excitement, and then it's like, oh, we have to play a game as well. So an odd atmosphere here, but I can guarantee you it will be, and I hate to miss it because of this, it will be buzzing tomorrow night. Like there's going to be, you talk about anticipation in the air, anticipation big time. So appreciate all of you again, and like and subscribe. Is that correct, Age? Like and subscribe to our show here, because certainly helps us. But beyond that, we are done from the press box here at Grand Casino Arena. He is AJ Fredrickson, producing and co-hosting along with yours truly, Judd Zolgate. See you guys later.